recently we learned that former CIA Director Mike Pompeo had wanted to kidnap and even murder Julian Assange. So this is a result of a Yahoo News investigation conducted by Zach Dorfman, Sean Naylor, and Michael Isikoff. So again, this was a pretty big investigation here based on conversations with more than 30 former U.S. officials, and it reveals for the first time one of the most contentious intelligence debates of the Trump presidency and their war against WikiLeaks and leaks in general. And you remember during the Trump administration, this guy hated leaks. Oh, get the leakers. We got to go after the leakers. Oh, the leakers, they're the worst thing ever. We need to shut down the leakers. Now, what happened? I thought during the election during 2016, you loved WikiLeaks. So let me just point out, by the way, that I've been in favor of WikiLeaks the entire time. You know why? Because I've been consistent in the fact that they're a journalistic organization. They take and they release things that governments want to hide. And generally, when the government wants to hide something, it's usually pretty bad. Usually. So I'm in favor of that transparency. And so when the Obama administration tried to shut down Julian Assange, I was against the Obama administration. When the Trump administration tried to do that, the same thing, I've also been against the Trump administration. And if the Biden administration continues that track, then I'm going to be against the Biden administration on the same thing. It's called being consistent. Okay? So now, that said, the Obama administration was not in favor. They used the Espionage Act to go after whistleblowers. For example, they went after Edward Snowden. They went after Chelsea Manning. And a lot of the case that the Trump administration actually went after WikiLeaks for and Assange was actually related to the stuff the Obama administration went after WikiLeaks and Assange for, the collateral murder video released by Chelsea Manning. And so the Obama administration, as I said, they went after whistleblowers pretty aggressively and actually had opened the door for the Trump administration to try to do something worse. And honestly, who didn't see that one coming? It's the same thing with the drone program, for example. The drone program under Obama had ramped up, over the Bush era program. And then, of course, the Trump administration ramped it up even further. And so we ended up having even more civilian casualties as a result of drone strikes. And even now, in the Biden administration, the recent drone strike where 10 people were killed, 7 of them children. One was an aid worker outside of Kabul during the pullout of Afghanistan. And so the drone program continues to be disastrous. And yet there hasn't really been that much of a change. But that's just an example to show you how these things have escalated from the Obama administration into the Trump administration and then continues into the Biden administration. And so the same thing in regards to WikiLeaks and Julian and the treatment of Julian Assange. But again, the whole irony, of course, is that Julian Assange had actually helped Donald Trump through those leaked emails, Hillary Clinton's leaked emails, of course, where even Pompeo was like, "Oh, great! We're getting these emails. We're getting the dirt on the DNC. Oh man, we love that stuff. Yeah, release more emails." And look, I think the emails should have been released. I covered the emails. I talked about the emails. And how there was a public and private face with Hillary Clinton, et cetera, the corruption of the DNC, working with CNN in order to, boost Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders, the hatred towards Bernie Sanders by the establishment. All that stuff is still incredibly important and still very relevant. And yet, weirdly enough, after Trump gets into office, as a result, partly of these WikiLeaks disclosures, now the CIA is like, take the gloves off. We're coming for Assange. From the article, some senior officials inside the CIA and the Trump administration had discussed killing Assange, going so far as to request sketches or options for how to assassinate him. Discussions over kidnapping or killing Assange occurred at, quote, the highest levels of the Trump administration, said a former senior counterintelligence official. There seem to be no boundaries. Understand that what they're doing is they're talking about killing a journalist. Now, of course, the Trump administration has no qualms about killing journalists or seeing journalists get killed. For example, Jamal Khashoggi over in, I think it was Istanbul, getting murdered by Saudi officials. Saudi hit squad. We knew that. That happened. And what did the Trump administration do? Nothing. By the way, has the Biden administration sanctioned them? No, not at all. Oh, because of course, the beloved Saudi Arabia. Oh, we can't make them mad. Oh, no, of course not. Now, conversations were part of an unprecedented CIA campaign directed against WikiLeaks and its founder. The agency's multi-pronged plans included extensive spying on WikiLeaks associates, sowing discord among the group's members, stealing electronic devices. While Assange had been on the radar of U.S. intelligence agencies for years, these plans for an all-out war against him were sparked by WikiLeaks' ongoing publication of extraordinarily sensitive CIA hacking tools known collectively as Vault 7, which the agency ultimately concluded represented the largest data loss in CIA history. So I mentioned, again, the attacks against Assange and WikiLeaks first started when they did the collateral murder video in Iraq. And then, the Vault 7 stuff, that's where Pompeo and the CIA said, okay, we're taking the gloves off here. We are incredibly embarrassed. I guess we're going to have to murder him. What are you going to do? Trump's newly installed CIA director, Mike Pompeo, was seeking revenge on WikiLeaks and Assange. Pompeo and other top agency leaders were completely detached from reality because they were so embarrassed about Vault 7, said a former Trump national security official. Quote, they were seeing blood. Now, here's the thing. Again, it's insane that we're talking about a journalist acting in their capacity as a journalist and WikiLeaks as a publisher. Like him or not, that's what Assange and WikiLeaks was. And again, personally, I think Assange has said and done some things that are sketchy at best. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, why are you siding with the Trump administration, who obviously apparently wants you killed? But at the same time, again, they wanted to murder him. After Obama had basically had him locked up in the embassy since 2012. He couldn't leave. Now, I want to show you here how they tried to get around that designation of being a journalistic outlet. And it really involved reclassification of what WikiLeaks was considered to be and what journalists really were. So let's show you that. This is from 2017 at the Center for Strategic and International Studies.
WikiLeaks walks like a hostile intelligence service and talks like a hostile intelligence service. It has encouraged its followers to find jobs at the CIA in order to obtain intelligence. Time to call out WikiLeaks for what it really is: a non-state hostile intelligence service often abetted by state actors like Russia. In January of this year, our intelligence community determined that Russian military intelligence, the GRU, had used WikiLeaks to release data of U.S. victims that the GRU had obtained through cyber operations against the Democratic National Committee. And the report also found that Russia's primary propaganda outlet, RT, has actively collaborated with WikiLeaks. Assange and his ilk make common cause with dictators today. Yes, they try unsuccessfully to cloak themselves and their actions in the language of liberty and privacy, but in reality, they champion nothing but their own celebrity. Their currency is clickbait, their moral compass non-existent, their mission, personal self-aggrandizement through destruction of Western values.
The destruction of Western values? You've got to be kidding me. And again, wait, I thought the Trump administration didn't believe in any of the Russia stuff. What are you talking about? And here you are, you're saying, oh, Russia, look at that. Oh, they're working for the Russians. They're working for the Russians. And again, you can have a nuanced opinion based on the factual information when it comes to Russiagate, right? So now, when it comes to that, for example, was there attempted interference in our elections? through memes and bots and things like that. Yeah, there was. How effective that was, can't really gauge. I think that, again, the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton's to lose, and she lost. She was a very poor campaigner. Not very good at doing political campaigns and running those campaigns. And I've went through the numerous missteps of that campaign. I don't want to really kind of relitigate that there. But again, going to the hypocrisy of the Trump administration, saying, oh, Russia bad, Russiagate bad. But then saying, oh, look at this. We get to go after WikiLeaks and Assange because Russiagate. Interesting. Very interesting. But again, that is part of the plan to reclassify WikiLeaks from being a journalistic outlet to considered to be a foreign intelligence service, which it's not. Still, the Senate Intelligence Committee did make that decision that they should be considered a non-state hostile intelligence service, which then opened Julian Assange, opened up to surveillance, new levels of surveillance. Now, again, the Obama administration's policy was different than the Trump administration policy. Let me point that out by saying that if there's published works out there, it doesn't matter the venue, then we have to treat them as First Amendment protected individuals. This is a former senior counterintelligence official. There were exceptions to that rule. There were very, very, very few, and far in between. WikiLeaks, the administration decided, did not fit that exception. But for the Trump administration, again, they didn't really care all that much about the First Amendment. Reporters, schmorters, kill them all. If they embarrass us, if they embarrass the CIA, the beloved CIA, we must come for them. We must come for them. Far worse than what the Obama administration, who again was on the wrong side of this, far worse than the Obama administration, the Trump administration. So now, let me go further here to more in this story. So now after the 2016 election, when Trump's national security team took their positions in the government, the fundamental change in how WikiLeaks was viewed, said that former counterintelligence official. When it came to prosecuting Assange, something the Obama administration had declined to do, the Trump White House had a different approach. Going back, of course, to talking about the First Amendment. Well, nobody in that crew is going to be too broken up about the First Amendment issues. Shocker. Shocker. Is it any surprise, at all of a surprise, that the CIA director didn't care about journalism? Yeah. Again, they were embarrassed. By the summer of 2017, the CIA's proposals were setting off alarm bells at the National Security Council, saying that WikiLeaks was a complete obsession of Pompeo's, said a former Trump administration national security official. After Vault 7, Pompeo and Deputy CIA Director Gina Haspel, who, by the way, has a position inside the Biden administration, wanted vengeance on Assange. Gina Haspel ran torture black sites. Why is she in a Democratic administration? Why is she in the Biden administration? She's a war criminal. Good question. Good question. Maybe we ought to question Biden on that one. I would love to hear the answer of why this torturer is in our government right now, who tried to murder a journalist. Now, at meetings between the senior Trump administration officials after WikiLeaks started publishing the Vault 7 materials, Pompeo had begun discussing kidnapping Assange, according to 4 former officials. While the notion of kidnapping Assange preceded Pompeo's arrival at Langley, the new director championed the proposals, according to the former officials. Pompeo and others at the agency proposed abducting him from the embassy and surreptitiously bringing him back to the United States via a third country, a process known as rendition. The idea was to break into the embassy, drag Assange out, and bring him to where we want, said a former intelligence official. A less extreme version of the proposal involved U.S. operatives snatching Assange from the embassy and turning him over to British authorities, something, of course, the Brits were not in favor of. They said, no, we're not going to allow the CIA to do this operation in our country. Are you insane? And some discussions, as I mentioned, even went beyond kidnapping. U.S. officials had considered killing Assange, according to 3 former officials. One of those officials said he was briefed in a spring 2017 meeting in which the president asked whether the CIA could assassinate him and provide him options on how to do so. The fact that this was a discussion at all is just absolutely insane. But again, this is how much Pompeo, Haspels, and other people at the CIA hated Assange and really hated journalism overall. Now, of course, thankfully, none of that happened. But at the same time, we still allowed a journalist to be locked up in an embassy with nowhere to go for years and years. And I can understand why Assange would hate the US government that much. Again, the Obama administration using the Espionage Act to go after these journalists, going after WikiLeaks, etc., and the Trump administration going even harder. Now the Biden administration keeping the same people in power and doing the same strategy. Understand that he's not getting a fair trial if he's extradited to the United States. And understand that this has never been about harm to the United States. In fact, I'm going to go to one former Trump national security official on this, saying, quote, "There was an inappropriate level of attention to Assange, given the embarrassment, not the threat he posed in context. We should never act out of a desire for revenge." It wasn't even about harm caused to the United States. It was always about the embarrassment. About the CIA wanting to get their revenge. You want to call WikiLeaks a hostile actor? What about the CIA? Probably the biggest terrorist organization on the planet, the CIA. Yeah, I said it. And I mean it. 100%. How many coups have they orchestrated in other countries? Overthrow them for resources. Iran, big example right there. How many death squads have they empowered in other countries? How many people have they murdered? Quite a few. This would just have been another one. And thankfully, there were people in the National Security Council that were like, no, we can't do that. Nope. We're going to draw the line at that, at kidnapping and murder. I'm sorry for your, petty little feud against him, that he embarrassed you, but we're not going to sanction murder in a journalist. It's going to cause way more problems in the end. And it would have been incredibly morally wrong. Now, furthermore, for my, in my view, I think we punished Assange enough. I should say he's been punished enough, having to live in an embassy for what, over a decade now? Now let the guy go. Let him go. He's a political prisoner at this point. He should be set free, not extradited back to the United States. That's it. I would advise you to read this article if you haven't already. It's very, very detailed, very clear. The Trump administration cared even less about whistleblowers than the Obama administration. And in fact, it was, again, much, much worse for the First Amendment and for journalism as a whole. Great reporting from Isikoff and the rest. We got to protect journalists. Even if they report stories that are incredibly uncomfortable and embarrassing for the government, well, that's the whole job of a journalist. And so, yes, we should absolutely protect them and protect, whistleblowers and, try to make the government not use the Espionage Act, as they have been doing wantonly to these journalists for a long time, abusing that and trying to stop journalism from happening. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.